These are this afternoon's top stories. Finance Minister Harris weighs in on budget preparations. Granger says there are too many suicides in Guyana, and Ben Carson under scrutiny for childhood stabbing story. Good afternoon and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Friday, 6 November 2015. I'm Carla Berridge. In national news, when government officials met on Thursday at the Ministry of Finance to discuss the upcoming budget presentation, the country's finance minister and Prime Minister, Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris, was present. During a media briefing, Dr. Harris said the budget preparatory exercises all cabinet members to gain more insight into the work of ministries that are not their own. He maintains that his administration's budget will bring answers to the questions that continue to be asked by the ordinary man.
And we intend that the various ministries, as we are doing now, should be able to showcase to the country that the country is getting value for money in health, in education, in foreign affairs, in the Office of Justice and Legal Affairs, from the Office of the Attorney General, every area of engagement.
Looking ahead, Dr. Harris said that his team will ensure that benefits that consumers should receive as a result of the removal of VAT from food, medicine and funeral expenses are effectively passed on.
And so we will look at mechanisms as we pursue the budget through which we can properly monitor and evaluate whether there is price gouging in the national community.
Prime Minister Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris. Meantime, Nevis's Premier, the Honorable Vance Amry, who, despite his long career as a politician, is part of the budget preparations of the federal government for the first time. This week, while speaking with the St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service, Minister Amry gave a sneak peek into the upcoming budget presentation.
Well, clearly we want to ensure that we control expenditure. We have certainly to provide upgrade in education. That is going to be a priority, I'm sure, for maintenance of school properties and health service and social service, because those are clearly areas of deep concern if we assess and evaluate the social environment of St. Kitts and Nevis. Those areas are critical.
Amry said despite the need to control expenditure, certain areas will receive attention, including efforts to increase foreign and domestic investment to create employment. Youth Ambassador Carissa Roberts has returned from the 9th Annual UNESCO Youth Conference held in Paris, France, convinced of her role in the global effort towards sustainable development. She's also passionate about ensuring that other youth in the region understand their roles. Roberts said the theme for the International Forum, Global Citizens for a Sustainable Planet, was thought-provoking in terms of challenging youths to become part of the responsible change process. She said the experience of visiting France and forging new friendships with so many young persons was also special. She thanked UNESCO for supporting her participation in the event. The UNESCO Youth Forum was held from October 26th to 28th in Paris, France.
Introducing the all-new ZIZ mobile app, the newest way to get the latest on what's happening locally, regionally, and internationally. Say goodbye to newspaper clutter and hello to updated classifieds on our radio market. Whether it's streaming your favorite local TV or radio show, or catching up on memorable moments in sports and entertainment, the ZIZ mobile app offers this and so much more. Always on the go? Get the ZIZ mobile app today. Visit the App Store on your smartphones and tablets to download the app free of cost. ZIZ Online, reaching you wherever you are.
A lot of people think that fast bikes are cool, and the girls sure like the guys who ride them. But like so many things about life, you gotta be careful. Having sex without a condom is like riding a bike without a helmet. It's just plain dumb. It's okay to have fun, as long as you're smart about it. My name is Daniel the Lion Fortress, and I'm different, and I'm making a difference.
Live up, love, protect, respect.
On to news on the regional scene. St. Lucia's human rights records will be examined shortly. The review follows concerns over human rights abuses on the island and the recent decision by the U.S. to withdraw assistance to the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, citing alleged extrajudicial police killings. More in this report.
St. Lucia's human rights record will be examined by the UN Human Rights Council's Universal Periodic Review, UPR, on Thursday, 5th November 2015. Some of the issues raised in the documents that the review is based on include excessive use of force by law enforcement and cases of extrajudicial killings, as well as the increase of gang homicides and gang-related activities. The impending assessment follows the revelations of the Impacts Report, which alleges serious human rights abuses by police officers. Issues affecting the LGBT community are also on the agenda. St. Lucia is one of the 14 states to be reviewed by the UPR Working Group during its upcoming session, taking place from the 2nd to the 13th of November. The UPR is a unique process which involves a periodic review of the human rights records of all 193 UN member states. Since its first meeting was held in April 2008, all 193 UN member states have been reviewed during the first UPR cycle and 140 thus far during the second cycle. The second review of states aims to highlight human rights developments in the country since its first review and provides an opportunity for states under review to spell out steps taken to implement recommendations posed during their first reviews. For the TBS News World, I am Sarah Peter.
Guyana's President David Granger says the suicide rate is cause for concern. Royston Drakes reports.
President David Granger said the suicide situation in this country is very troubling, noting that so many young people are resorting to take their own lives. He said Guyana has one of the highest suicide rates in the hemisphere, and the Public Health Ministry is currently looking at the issue.
We've had studies by Dr. Frank Beckles, and it is a very difficult problem to overcome because it is a personal response. These are not poor people. These are not people who are frustrated or people who are dead end, because of poverty. Some of these people seem to be living physically comfortable lives. So something else is going on. As I often say, happy people don't kill themselves. As you know, in the past there was something called a suicide hotline. But there are other factors which are driving young people particularly to suicide. They might be emotional, but this is something that is being investigated.
The president said a more detailed study needs to be done by his government. He said the idea is to get to the cause of suicide and not to look at the outcome or the effects.
Well, you can't have a plan to prevent suicide in all circumstances. It's not a matter of removing them from the chemicals that they use. If you want to kill yourself, you jump off the Demerara Harbor Bridge. You can't move the bridge. And many persons use pesticides. But other persons who want to kill themselves can hang themselves, shoot themselves, jump off the bridge. So the idea is to get to the cause, not to look at the outcomes or the effects. To find out why so many young people who have their lives ahead of them are killing themselves. I cannot say that I know the answer, but it is a high rate. It's one of the highest rates in the hemisphere, and we are working on it. It's a public health issue, and we're working with it through the Ministry of Health, Public Health as well.
Last Tuesday, 2 teenagers were found dead on the Georgetown seawall after they reportedly ingested a poisonous substance. Reporting for Capital News, Royston Drakes.
And internationally, Louisiana State Police are investigating a shooting involving city marshals. That shooting reportedly killed a 6-year-old boy and critically wounded his father.
6-year-old Jeremy Martis was killed by bullets that were intended to stop his father, Christopher Few. According to Louisiana State Police, Few led 4 law enforcement officers on a short pursuit Tuesday night and stopped on a dead-end road.
The initial conversation to my investigators when they arrived was that the vehicle was backing up on them. They feared for their life and they started firing.
Colonel Michael Edmondson is head of the Louisiana State Police, which is leading the investigation. CBS This Morning has learned as many as 2 law enforcement officers, fired nearly 18 rounds at the SUV.
There were a lot of shots fired that night, and they were coming in one direction. There's nothing for us that indicates any fire coming from that SUV. There was no weapon found in that vehicle.
Young Jeremy was hit by 5 bullets in the head and the chest, killing him at the scene. His father was also shot and is hospitalized in serious condition.
He tried to basically get me out of the van.
Megan Dixon says she is engaged to Few. She claims they argued that night outside a local pool hall. Shortly after, she says Few stopped alongside her vehicle at a red light.
Instead of me running him over, I just went around him, and then I heard the sirens.
Dixon believes that interaction may be what caught the attention of the authorities, prompting the law enforcement officers to pursue him.
Why were they trying to pull Mr. Few over?
Well, until we speak to those officers, we don't know.
The colonel says at this point, his investigators need more information from those officers involved in that shooting.
Does this situation trouble you?
Well, I think the longer it takes for these officers to come forward and give us information, it's more concerning. Come forward, tell us what happened.
At least 3 of the 4 officers involved work full-time for the Marksville City Police Department. The other works full-time for the Marshal's office. But at the time of the shooting, we're told by state police they were working a side job for the Marshal's office, further complicating exactly whose authority they were operating under. Anthony, this morning we're told there is video from one of the officers that may show the events leading up to the shooting.
Republican presidential candidate Ben Carson is gaining more attention for recent comments about a violent story from his youth. Jan Crawford reports on how Carson's telling of the story has evolved over the years.
His claims are absolutely true. I am 100% sure that they are true.
Ben Carson says accounts of an angry, violent youth are true, including an attempted stabbing.
The person that I tried to stab, I talked to today, and it was a close relative of mine.
But a CNN report suggested otherwise.
CNN has been unable to locate witnesses or victims.
Do you think I'm a pathological liar like CNN does? Or do you think I'm an honest person?
Carson's telling of that story over the years has evolved. In his 1990 autobiography, Gifted Hands, Carson says he tried to stab a friend, not a relative. The book was adapted into a 2009 film.
Benny, what did you do?
The attempted stabbing incident occurred when I was 13 or 14. Trying to hit my mother in the head with a hammer, that was around the same time as the stabbing incident.
Republican rival Donald Trump blasted the retired neurosurgeon on Twitter, saying the Carson story is either a total fabrication or, if true, even worse, trying to hit mother over the head with a hammer or stabbing friend.
Oh, hi. How are you?
As Carson's poll numbers grow, so does the scrutiny.
Now, my own personal theory.
On Thursday, the 64-year-old again defended his 1998 remarks that the Egyptian pyramids were built by Joseph to store grain.
Is that something that you think people should know about?
No, I think that's, some people believe in the Bible, like I do, and don't find that to be silly at all, and believe that God created the earth and don't find that to be silly at all.
Now, it might seem strange to see that, someone insisting that these bad things from his past are true, but that's been a big part of Carson's personal story of redemption. I mean, he often talks about how, as a teenager, he was saved from a life of violence when he found God, that his anger just went away.
Take a look at the weather. Temperatures today will peak at 82 degrees Fahrenheit, with a moderate breeze blowing from the northeast at 14 miles per hour. Today and tonight will be mostly cloudy with only a few brief passing showers. Warning remains in effect for small craft operators and sea bathers as seas are rough with swells up to 9 feet. Sunset this evening is expected at 5:38 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:12 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kyla Barrett.